Dr. Hew, good evening, and we are live on Facebook.
Hi, good evening, Ethel. Right. Hi.
Good evening, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I can see people, my friends are beginning to kind of log in. We will give them a little bit of time because they're coming from different parts of Malaysia and India.
Different times.
Yes, different time zones too.
Different time zones.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ethel, for having me on your little chat program.
Yes, you're most welcome, Dr. Hew. My pleasure. So it's called Heart to Heart because the entire idea is to make it very personal, very fireside chat, and
Right.
also give our friends, and viewers and audience a glimpse into your life much more than a professional life that way. So I think we should kind of just jump straight into it, presuming that lockdown is keeping you and me safe in whichever places that you are. So you're in Bangsar and I'm in Labuan. So two different places.
Yeah,
Right.
quite far away. Yeah, it's quite a distance away, isn't it? At least a plane flight. How long is it? How long is the plane journey to
It is
Labuan?
2.5 hours.
2 hours by
2
flight. Yeah, so it's quite.
hours. Yeah, quite a distance and beautiful, vistas. If you look outside your airplane window, it's all sea and it's Malaysia is beautiful, correct?
Yeah, East Malaysia particularly because it's all rainforest, right? It's all virgin rainforest, thousands,
Yes.
millions of years old, and that
Yes.
side is not as urbanized or developed like in big cities in KL, where I am. So Malaysia has got a lot of different kind of scenery, from a very cityscape skyscraper kind of views to where you are at, which is like
Yeah.
island paradise.
Very true. And then as your plane lands into the airport, you actually kind of see the island from a different viewpoint, right?
Yeah.
Labuan is such a rich geo park, which I did not know, and I kind of and I'm here for some time now, and having read so much about it, I think it's like a gold mine. It's just sitting on this petroleum kind of seabed or rock, as you call it, very ancient, very old, and that's how all the petrol companies are all the side. And
Yeah.
so rich in terms of flora, fauna, a little bit of history, World War II history, so much of history that I got to know, right from the Japanese and the British and different landmarks here and there. Beautiful, beautiful.
It's just a short hop away, right? It's an island, a short hop away from the rest of Borneo, right? And Borneo is a huge area, right, which comprises of both Malaysia and Indonesia.
That's
and,
right.
And that's huge landmass there.
So I think it's just boat ride from Labuan to Borneo.
Boat ride.
Yeah, you can just hop across in your back that way. Great. Yeah. So I can see people are joining in. Friends are joining in. Great. So ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Ethel Da Costa, and I have a very special guest today to usher in the season 2 of Heart to Heart, which I think has turned out to be quite popular in India as well. Because I've had friends calling me up and asking me, when is the next session happening, Ethel, and stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Hew Yin Keat. He is the medical director of the M.A.C.Clinic in Malaysia, a very prestigious aesthetic clinic, which has a history of 25 years of being in the beauty business. Very well known in the media. Dr. Hew is the go-to for all kinds of, aesthetic trends, beauty, opinions, like a key opinion leader of the industry, beauty industry himself. Dr. Hew is also the founding member of the Malaysian Society of Aesthetic Medicine. So most of the which is like an authority on aesthetic medicine in Malaysia. So Dr. Hew is the founding member of this very prestigious and old institute. So Dr. Hew, welcome to Heart to Heart. And I'm very happy to introduce you and to kind of learn much more about what you do and why you do what you do in the field of beauty and wellness, how it all kind of correlates to our own mental health as well. And to my audience, to also kind of let you know that the M.A.C.Clinic, where Dr. Hew is the medical director, is very popular not only with women but with men as well. So a huge, clientele are also very well-known men who are doyens in their own field from Malaysia. And we understand that beauty is just not a woman's prerogative. I think even men want to be seen as looking good, looking healthy, looking holistically empowered. So men are also taking charge of how they look and feel, and I think that is great because it kind of ensures that we are building a very empowered an empowered male as well. So Dr. Hew is, I think, quite the enlightened, enlightened guru in that field, I must say. Having known you for, I think, almost a year now.
Almost a year now already. Yeah.
Almost a year now, correct. So we're going to jump straight into it. I can see that you're sitting in your, with the background of your beautiful garden, because we've been seeing all your.
It's a bit overlit. Yeah, because
Yes.
you can't balance between my, the foreground or the background. But later, when the sun goes down a little bit, maybe you can catch a glimpse of it a little bit, or maybe I can show you. I think you want a tour of my garden.
Yes.
Another little hobby of mine besides aesthetics, because to me, right, I think that gardening was quite an obvious kind of thing for me to go into when the lockdown happened, because you're staying at home, and I think within the first few days, right, all the bulbs have been changed in the house. You look for things to do around the house, when you're not at work, and the garden was the most was the next thing, and it proves to be the most challenging thing because it's always evolving, and it also requires a lot of nurturing, just like aesthetics. And I found so many similarities, and I'm so happy with the progress of my garden. It's only a small garden, but I find it's quite relaxing and quite good for mental health, if you want to call it that. If we the garden tend to something nurturing, something to do with something living, right? And look on the brighter side.
Yeah, and from your Facebook stories, your garden looks beautiful, and I think it loves you back because the flowers look so energetic and full of energy and vitality. So, as you do,
actually, I sort of draw parallels with it to what I'm doing in my clinic, because in my clinic, what I'm doing is basically that. Over the years, right? I think in this industry, to do with beauty and especially medical beauty, people always thought about it being like just plastic surgery or enhancing or changing people's looks, by changing the nose or the chin or the face. But mainly, I think you can get great results, right? Just by optimizing the skin, making it healthier instead of altering, right? Reconstructing, making things healthier, just like the garden, right? The beauty will show out. It will bear fruit. It will have beautiful flowers, and I see so many parallels with what I'm doing when I'm tending to the garden. And to me, I find that's very satisfying, both in the garden and in the clinic. So I think it's great. I think there's the thing about beauty industry is that there's a lot of commercialization going on. I think I've talked to you about this before, Ethel.
Yes.
And it gets a little bit too much to the point where people lose the track, of what was actually the original intention, which is actually to make the person look more attractive, to make the person convey a message of health, and beauty.
Correct.
Rather than changing a look, right? to be sharper and and or bigger, right, in terms of when
Mm,
in
mm,
hand.
mm.
Yeah. So
Yes,
so I think it's a very interesting parallel, and it's a very interesting industry, both gardening and aesthetics.
right. Because both require care and nurturing. Right. So having kind of, having said that, and it's such a beautiful, a kind of foundation to set on the very fact of how beauty correlates to us as human beings, right? Irrespective of gender. And then to use the same kind of example to tendering a garden and nurturing a garden. It's almost like you take care of nature and nature takes care of you. I can,
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly that. Yes.
that's beautiful, which is so required today because the sign of times requires us to nurture what has been given to us, which is the planet, and because of the misbalance that has happened, we are dealing with something like the pandemic. I
Yeah.
look at it, completely, in the same correlation that way. So Dr. Hugh, you've been in the industry for the past 25 years, so you've seen so much that has happened, in the industry in general, and with your own practice, in particular, because you have been traveling widely, on conferences, understanding, trends in aesthetics, and then, the application of it, to human life, right? Where do you draw your focus, your inspiration, and your happiness from to keep it going and sustaining it for the last 25 years?
I think for a start, right? I'm medically trained, so I think most people who go into medicine, right? Well, they may say early on when they're younger that in it, for the money, right? To get
Mm,
returns for the parents, to be a professional, right? To be a specialist. And I think a lot of people see like medicine being that way, but actually, when it comes down to the heart of it, whether a
right.
person sticks with the profession and doesn't change something else is whether they really truly like the profession or not. And in
Mm,
medicine, it's about helping people. So
mm,
I think the groundwork, the foundation is actually since young, I've always I've been a Red Cross or Red Crescent Society in Malaysia.
oh,
Trying to help
okay.
people. You want to do first aid. You want to do some charity. I was in the Interact Club, which is actually a junior branch of the Rotary Club, right? Interact Club. When
Mm,
I was president when I was in one of the
okay.
in secondary school. Yeah, so that helping people. So I was actually fortunate enough to come into this beauty, medical beauty kind of thing, which
Mm,
was in its infancy stage, I think, in the early 2000s, and in the late 90s and early 2000s. I came
mm,
in early, which is why I have got this experience as you mentioned just now. So I was in a way in the right place at the right time. I did switch a little bit of focus because originally I did practice about 3.5 years in government hospitals, and that
okay.
time it was within the hospital setting, and I was roped into the anesthesia department,
Right.
and I loved it. I loved it, putting people to sleep,
That's
and,
right.
and controlling the whole environment is like I'm a pilot, driving the whole situation while the
Right.
surgeon does their work. Yeah, so
Mm,
I really enjoyed it. We're using a lot of very potent drugs, in tiny amounts, which is kind of like what I'm doing with Botox nowadays, anyway.
yeah.
So, so when I came into the private sector, I was drawn in, and a friend introduced me, another doctor friend from Singapore, introduced me to this new thing at that time,
Mm,
right? Called
mm,
aesthetic. And his pitch to me was that, hey, this is something new, and there's going to be a lot of gadgets. There's lasers, there's injections, there's all these powerful things, and it's evolving, it's growing very very quickly. There's also the financial part of it, which is a little bit more rewarding.
yes.
There's also and you get to see a lot of women, and you're
Mhm.
supposed to make them happy. So I said,
Yes,
oh yeah, okay, right. I'm a young man that I was.
yes, yes, sure.
So so that was my first foray, and I've never looked back since. That was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
Mm,
So then eventually I owned my own clinic. And by the way, the M.A.C.Clinic, right, it's not related to M.A.C Cosmetics. The reason why it's called M.A.C.Clinic is because, again, it was one of the first aesthetic clinics in Malaysia. And that time, a former partner of mine, my ex-boss, he actually called it the Malaysian Aesthetic Clinic. So that's what M.A.C stands for, Malaysian Aesthetic Clinic. Yeah, but I shorten it because otherwise it's too long.
Correct. Right. So where would you say that you draw your inspiration and happiness from?
So coming back to that, so I think it's to help people, and I found that the more I did things for this kind of thing, right? I think in the early days and maybe even now, it's sort of been a sort of misunderstood kind of concept, right? This to do with beauty. People always said that if you want to do beauty, why don't you just go to the beautician, go to the spa, go to a medi spa, right? And and they've been doing it for years. They've been in the business of beauty, for years. And if things get really, really difficult, right, and you need something big to be changed, then you still go to the plastic surgeon. So now I think that has changed a lot over the past, I think, 5 to 10 years, really a lot all over the world, because this thing called aesthetics, right, where we apply medical knowledge, medical science, right, and technology into beauty has changed things a lot. So most people have heard of things like Botox and all that.
Right,
so,
correct.
But then now it gets even more confusing because there are all these high-end energy-based devices like high-intensity focused ultrasound, and then lasers. And in the laser family, there are the 20 different kinds of applications of how it can be done to improve the skin, improve the face. So all this is to help people achieve their goals of having better skin. In the early days, again, right, when it was just thought of as being something to do a quick fix at, aesthetic clinics do quick fix at. It was just reducing wrinkles, with Botox, or fill in a little to fill up empty spaces, that they're shrunk when people age. And in Asian context in particular, it was actually to burn away spots. Everybody will ask, can you burn this spot away? Or I've got this little wart. It doesn't look good. So that time, even though it's a small thing, and since that time I've been doing before and after pictures for my patients, they get really impressed because no one else was treating this kind of ailments, right? If they go to a beautician, they will find that they can't help them. It's too difficult to scratch up, and it's not their job. They just want to maybe just scrub the skin, put some moisturizer, put a mask, improve the appearance of the skin. But when there's a lesion on the skin, they can't do much.
Right,
when
correct.
people then go and see a dermatologist say, hey, this is not a big skin issue. It's not a skin disease, or maybe they don't have the tools to do it, or they're too busy because there's a long queue of people seeing eczema and psoriasis.
Yes. Which is very popular, right? Very common in Malaysia.
Go home, right? And if they go to plastic surgeon, they will say, the plastic surgeon will say the same thing because they are on another side, right, where they do aggressive and very strong, like cutting kind of procedures. And something like that just doesn't interest them because it's too minor. And they'll say, it looks like a very minor thing. I can't help you. So for me, right, I got a lot of satisfaction treating this kind of patients, which is sort of in the middle ground. It's actually like the everyday person, everyday Joe, everyday Jane, right?
Correct.
Got this kind of skin conditions that couldn't be fixed by the beauticians. If you go and see a dermatologist with these skin diseases, they will say, hey, it's not serious. Don't waste too much time. I'll listen to you, but I may not have the tools to treat it. Yeah. Correct. So then I'm happily in that area where actually I think I serve quite a large spectrum of people. Yeah, and that for me, right, has been very rewarding. And for me, I think that for me it's about helping people first of all. Right. But through this helping of people, I found that, of course, my clinics and my business grew, and because we were one of the first in Malaysia or in KL anyway, to have service. That's correct. We ended up seeing a lot of celebrities, a lot of VIPs, VVIPs, and what they call in Malaysia, and it turned out to be very interesting. I met a lot of interesting people, and that is also part and parcel of what makes medicine interesting for me. Meeting new people and then getting to know them, getting to know this condition, even if they don't want to be, very close. They want an arm's length kind of thing. You're a doctor. I shouldn't mingle. I shouldn't get to know the doctor friend. But any of my patients have become my friends over the years. Yeah, so I think it has been any profession.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you must be on their speed dial too. Right. So,
Yeah.
so, so, so Dr. Hew, I mean, we all understand beauty from a very holistic perspective, correct? Being a journalist myself, you know, you also get to see whether you like it or not, the other part of it as well, correct? So, what would you say, in your entire experience, would be in the business of beauty, as we call it, the cons of it, of the beauty industry.
The cons of the beauty industry, I think it has always been the case through the years that people will do anything for beauty. I think
Mm,
especially and because women have an eye for it, and
correct.
it's hard coded into their genes to want to look beautiful because
Correct.
okay it's genetically because they want to attract a good a good potential mate, right? And also I think they just like to preen themselves and look good, yeah. And
Yeah, yeah. We do
that,
it for ourselves. We don't do it for the men.
that's something I don't actually see in some men, and
Mm,
across the board usually,
right.
all women, most of them they will see these flaws and they want to improve upon it. They also they're also very optimistic, they come in and they want this kind of service, find someone
Mm,
who can help them.
okay.
So again, I say in the earlier days, people go to see the beauticians. They are the go-to people. They are the ones they ask for advice about beauty. Which cream, which product to use.
Yes.
What facial I need to do today, or how do I relax, get pampering from the spa. So
Mm,
that has always been there. So when we came in as doctors and applying medical knowledge, there seemed to be some kind of a competition, right, with
yes.
that traditional beauty industry, uh, which is very different again from the plastic surgeons, right, in the past,
Mm,
because it
mm-hmm.
was a much bigger step, right, way
Right.
across. So then I see that there was a lot of how to say this, competition is one thing. There could be like jealousies, there could be like people wanting to do more than they should.
Mm,
So the cons of it is that it is now, because it is competitive, and it's
correct.
because people want to do many things to achieve their financial goals as well, right? Or maybe in businesses, in franchises. So they keep wanting to push the envelope of how much they can do. So,
That's it.
as in anywhere else, we see this happening all over the world. We saw this happening in the US, in America. We saw this happening in India. We saw this happening in Singapore. Initially, we saw this happening in Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, Malaysia as well. So the
Mm,
con is that is that everybody wants to be in the game, but they should know where they which position they are in, right? Just like football, right?
right.
You
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
the goalkeeper can't go up front and score a goal, right? You have
Correct.
your role. You have an important role. Beauticians have an important role. I've no problems, right? Go to see a beautician if I need a
Mm,
facial, right? In fact, I
mm,
employ therapists as well, right?
mm, mm,
And
mm. Okay.
sometimes
Okay.
reviews
Okay.
may not be so uh, scientifically or medically proven. There's no double-blind randomized control trial on this particular product, but it works, right? And
Right.
it helps a lot of people. So there is a role for that. And then here we are, right, in a role where we have got a bit of injections, injectables,
Mm,
medication, which can only purchase from a pharmaceutical company,
mm,
and which again, the students shouldn't be doing, and the lasers and all that, which are also high end, and it can cause harm if the person is not well trained. Yep. So this kind of positioning and this jostling, right, is
mm,
causing a lot of problems. I think there are some countries which have done it very well. They have
right.
very good tight rules. They learned from the past. They learned from mistakes. Learned from the layperson who has got problems, who got something scarred or something maimed or even death
Yes.
happen, and
Yes.
then
Yeah.
got tighter rules, or clear and strict rules, and people sort of follow them, right? And it's
Okay.
well informed. So we want to head towards that, something like that in Malaysia. But in Malaysia, at the moment, there's still a little bit of a tussle
Mm,
between
mm,
all the players.
correct.
So for me, that would be a con, because again, like I say, women are seeking beauty,
Mm,
and then sometimes they get promised promised a lot of things.
yes.
They just hope in a jar, right? And then
Yes.
a lot of empty or false promises. People that cannot do it, like they will say they can change something, and then they keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually the person, the consumer, finds out that, oh, actually this person really cannot do, right? So,
Dr. Hew, could there also be a problem of with self-image as well? Because I myself have, being here in Malaysia, I see that it is a huge, it is quite a booming, industry vertical. Do you think that it is also a self-image issue that makes more and more women seek out, artificial concepts of beauty?
Yeah, no, I would say in the earlier days, maybe there's like maybe something more artificial, especially when you look at reconstructing or changing things like plastic surgery, right? With the beautician kind of side, with the spa kind of side, it's just very gentle, gradual change, improving skin and all that. So we are sitting somewhere in between. In Malaysia, actually, it's quite interesting because we've always been a very laid back kind of nation. So I think we never really got caught up, in all these self-image problems like we see in the US, or where society is very competitive.
Yes.
Find a mate or find a job, or to just look good. And now with social media coming in, you know where we're getting at, right?
Yes.
So, in Malaysia, we've never had a problem with a lot of people wanting to enhance their boobs, right? To humongous sizes. No, I thought it would be laid back, but now again the reason is because everybody is in the game. The public is much aware. Magazines are out there. And social media obviously plays a role. People look good in their selfies, in their TikTok videos,
flawless.
There are things like filters, right, to help out. But people want to, they want to have certain features to look good in the videos. So I think self-image wise, it probably happens all over the world. It should be something that we should always look out for. When people, I've had patients who come to see me, right? Young girls, right? And they show me a picture of a Korean artist, and I want to have that, or they want a very tapered, very sharp kind of face, and say, I want that. Just give me that. Or I want this, right? Kylie Jenner kind of lips, right? Yeah. So we do have that, but I think if the doctor is sensible and the professional, is professional, then things, right, can be nipped in the bud. These things can be counseled. This thing can be talked over with the patient, so that in the end, right, we come up with something sensible to do. Because even if, let's say, we kind of blow up people's lips, right, we can give them a little bit of enhancement. We can make the lips look a little bit more plump, a little bit maybe more moist. So that already gives a better look.
Yeah, because that is I think like a huge trend right now. You see, because most of the lipstick models, right, as we call them, require very plumped up lips, and also I keep seeing that, right? So I think it's like a landmine from what from my perspective. When I look at the entire beauty industry as an insider and then being out, it is a landmine that one needs to tread with information. Make informed decisions. Unless,
I don't know whether you remember sometime in the earlier days, I think before even Netflix came about, there was this series from the US, obviously, called Nip Tuck. Have you heard of? Have you watched that? Yeah, so initially it was a pair of plastic surgeons, and I thought it was hilarious, the trouble. And I so identified with the patients they see, right? And then they had all kinds of adventures, disadventures, and then eventually towards one of the seasons they started they employed female psychiatrists, right, to counsel the patients. I thought that was so amazing. If I could have this kind of expertise and sharing in my clinic, I could put people the right way. And there could be some assessment so that people don't have unrealistic expectations, and that people don't go into this thing about a wrong kind of self body image or body dysmorphism.
Yes, but then Dr. Hew, you as a human being, you are a very conscious human being. So I understand that that having a therapist on board and counsel a patient before he or she kind of gets into altering something, right? But I'm not sure that every doctor does it.
Correct. So since I cannot, since I don't I don't have the resources at the moment to employ someone like that. Well, I might in the future. I am able to play that role, I guess. So to me, right, I always want people to look their best, also to look natural. Not distorted, not too enhanced or caricatured, right?
Yes, correct.
Some doctors have that kind of style. They will put in a lot of filler in certain areas of the face, or they will do a lot of Botox to make it completely still, or they will keep scrubbing or lasering the skin until it's perfectly like porcelain, right? Scrubbed.
Yes,
But it may not be a good thing, because every time something is overdone, eventually people will find out, right, that it's actually probably not a good thing.
right.
It may be detrimental to health as well.
Mhm.
Also maybe detrimental to an organ like the skin, right?
Yeah, and I think psychological health as well, right? Because we all understand that body image, self-image has so much to do with self-esteem, and
Yeah.
then the external that will step in. So on that note, Dr. Hew, coming from India myself, which is the second largest country in the world. Do you also kind of, and a very vibrant Bollywood industry, because Bollywood industry, a very kind of, very high-end, crowd that is well-traveled, well-read, and has a concept of beauty of their own, Indian beauty, and wanting to be part, of the entire globalization of beauty, so to say, right? Do you look at India as a potential platform for your aesthetic ventures?
Yeah, actually, throughout the years, right, because again, we were one of the pioneering clinics doing aesthetics in Malaysia. So we have a lot of celebrities coming to our place, and then they do go and seek out and they tell their friends, right, internationally. And I'm in KL, and a particular place in KL called Bangsar, which is actually very cosmopolitan, and there are a lot of expatriates living here. And
Correct.
they could be from India, they could be from Europe, they could be from Australia, they could be from US. And surprisingly enough, many of them found their way to my clinics. So even without making a conscious effort to do health tourism, right? Like what I found a lot of other clinics are doing, because they say, there's not enough potential in Malaysia, in the market in Malaysia. So let's go to Indonesia. Let's go and seek out. Let's go and do a mission, right, to Indonesia or Singapore or some other country and bring patients in. But I didn't have to do that. So I will say I'm fortunate, and yet I still get to see an international crowd. I've had patients from India before, from India, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan as well, from the UK.
Okay.
I mean, all over the world. Some of them were traveling here and introduced by friends. Some were actually here. Maybe the husband is on contract, or husband is an ambassador, and they pop in and they heard about heard about it, and because. I was trained in Ireland for 5 years. I worked 1 year in the UK, so I was quite comfortable speaking to the European, the Western people. They found that I was engaging enough, interesting enough to continue to come and see me. Or I was someone who they could trust. These are people, right? Over time, I also found that people who've also been to different clinics. They could be an ambassador's wife who've been to South America, who've been to Geneva, Switzerland. And when they come and do Botox with me or do a laser with me, they say, hey, you're doing this job better than what I had when I was over in Geneva and in Switzerland, So what is this? Why? So I said, no, yeah, because I think they're really living in the world without borders.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, where you find a good doctor. If you find a good doctor in Malaysia, like here, if you find a good doctor in Singapore, or you find one in India, right? Then I think credit where it's due, right? I think the good ones will have a good reputation, yeah, and there will good words, word of mouth kind of thing. But what I find a little bit disappointing is that nowadays, right, because of social media and because of how all this news goes around, fake news included, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Being mucked up. So it's very hard. It's very hard to just depend on word of mouth to survive.
Correct.
Another thing is actually some people are actually actively promoting things which are not true, and saying like, saying like maybe some clinic or something is actually award winning or world renowned, when actually it's not.
Mm.
So I think everyone has to be a little bit careful, but it's probably always been like that for all kinds of things. This is the
Yes.
real.
Yeah. Correct. So India would be an exciting opportunity.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, would be. So
The other,
Dr. Hew.
the other thing that is good, right? I think that I find I'm again fortunate is that in
Mm.
Malaysia we have three, well, let's say three or four, right, main races, right? So the
Yes.
Malays, the largest population, and they are brownish kind of skin, right?
Correct.
There's the Chinese, and they're lighter Oriental kind of color,
Mm.
right? Then there's the
Mm.
Indian, right, with huge population of Indians in Malaysia itself, right? And
Yes.
then of course there are the others, right? The local natives and also the expats and the Eurasians in Malaysia who stayed
Correct.
back. So because we see skin from all across the spectrum of different colors, I
Correct.
find that because of that, my experience with lasers and all that is good. So when it
Mm.
comes to treating pigmented skin, there's good experience, and I do seek out how to help my patients, knowledge, right? Seek out knowledge about how to help my patients
Mhm.
who have a pigmented skin. So I think, yeah, so Malaysia is fortunate in that way.
Correct. Yeah. Wow. So I'm just looking at our chat. We have friends from Bangladesh. We have friends from Dubai, and we have friends from Malaysia as well. Not bad. Not bad at all. So Dr. Hew, I'm sure you have your own list of beautiful faces. This is the time when you let all the cats out of the bag. So who who would be your most beautiful face or faces, correct? And why?
Oh, that's a that's a loaded question, and that's tricky. You did mention something like that early on, when you're asking me about what to talk about. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I think it's very individual. It's very subjective. I think last year, if not mistaken, I was just looking, just a quick look at beautiful faces from around the world, and
Okay.
there was a list, right, last year by TC something, right? 100 most beautiful faces around the world. And
Hmm.
most of the names I don't even know, because, time changes, it's all filled with young people, not the
Yes.
traditional older people which I knew. Things move slower in the past. Things are changing very, very fast now.
Correct.
So I think even in aesthetic industry and in conferences, when plastic surgeons from around the world talk, dermatologists, aesthetic doctors talk, a phase that has been cropped up very, very often in the past, because it fulfills most of the lines, right, of the perfect ratio, five
Hmm.
ratio, was Angelina Jolie, because she fit the Marquardt mask. Yeah,
Yeah. I
very
love
beautiful.
her. I absolutely love her.
But what but I didn't really, I don't really agree, because yes, she has beauty, but to
Hmm.
me, her face, right, the message and the emotion it conveys is a little bit aggressive.
Hmm.
It's stern, right? It's not fun, not jovial, not so feminine in the sense, not so rounded feminine.
Okay.
Example of that is maybe someone like okay, like Charlie's Angels, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
people
Yes.
don't know. Some know among the audience, right? In the past, so
Right.
there's the Farrah Fawcett, the original Charlie's Angels, right? And
Yes.
there's Will Smith, right? And there's Kate Jackson. And to me, right, a lot of people like the blonde, right? Farrah Fawcett, she was the sex symbol, icon, right? But my preference was something a little bit more rounded, right? A little bit more friendly.
Hmm.
Someone like Jacqueline Smith, for example, and she aged very well. She aged very well. I think she
Yes.
had a nice balanced face. And also, if you look at the Chinese kind of faces, people like Maggie Cheung. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you people know about her, but if you Google it up and look at her face, right, in the heydays, right, before age and all that has crept in, right, she used to have a
Right.
nice, rounded, more friendly kind of a face, a little bit more fat, yeah.
Correct.
So I think the concept has changed so much. In fact, the list from last year got a lot of criticism, because the one who was this Israeli girl, right, who was supposed to be most beautiful face on earth.
Mhm.
A lot of people
Yeah.
say that she looks very common. She doesn't look stunning. Yeah,
That was
but
real.
for
I
me,
think that was
if you
Gal Gadot.
sorry.
Wonder Woman. Was that the Wonder Woman
No,
actress?
not Wonder Woman. There was another one last year, and then she was a much younger
Oh,
girl.
okay.
Uh,
Okay.
uh,
All right.
Ayala Shelbia or something like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Another girl. But coming back to that, funny you should bring Wonder Woman up because I've been watching now. I'm watching kids movies with my kids, and we're just
Right.
watching Wonder Woman just last night. And
Yeah.
I think right, for me, she fits the bill for me as
Yes.
a very attractive looking thing. Right?
Yes.
She's got a
Correct.
good blend. Right?
Yes.
She has got a
And
strong jaw.
and and very organic doctor, if I could say that,
Yes.
because she could be the woman, next door to you, and
Correct.
still, the epitome of beauty. Correct?
Right, but her beauty is still stunning. She got big eyes. She got very
Yes.
beautiful face. She got very smooth, features. But the curves are the right places. So I
Hmm.
think that to me is what good kind of beauty should be about.
Also, I think also, we are very actively, looking at at a shift happening, correct? In the past, I think in the past 1 year now, where women are consciously opting not to get their hair, treated in the sense that let the grays show, let's bring back natural beauty, let us age gracefully, correct? So I see a huge shift happening, in that mindset where women are consciously opting to let their grace be seen, consciously opting for a more holistic, organic form of beauty, where which comes from which comes from self acceptance, correct? And I think that looks very beautiful also. So you have almost like two universes that happen simultaneously, the very controlled universe of external enhancement, and the very natural universe where women are opting to be seen for who they are, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and also in terms of beauty. uh, what what would you say is contributing to that shift that we are seeing in today's timeline?
Now, today's times probably is because of the pandemic, because lockdown, right? People are just staying at home. They're not forced to put on their makeup every day to go to work, and then they will find that when they look in the mirror, right, they have a certain look. After a while, they get a little bit more comfortable with that look.
Mm,
Doesn't mean the look is perfect, right? So and then they find ways to improve a little bit on that look to freshen up, right? But without too much of camouflage and thick makeup, right? And
right.
coloring of hair and everything. They can just make simple little changes or enhancements, use a little bit of products, right, to improve the skin appearance, right?
Right.
And that already it gives them some improvement. So I think part of it is because people have been locked down and they can't really go all out. But it's a good thing because I think I belong. I say there are two universes, right? But I belong to
Yes.
the and I have always been right throughout my whole time in
Yes.
aesthetics on
Correct.
the side of the natural kind of thing, natural look, because I find it also ages much better. So I
Mm,
have my philosophy has always been to make women look natural. So when they
mm,
come to see me, whether they're in the 30s or 40s or 50s, right? I just want to do certain touches to make them see the improvement, and they see it for sure. And then I carry them over the years, right? And we see what happens. And so what
correct.
has happened is I came to a point where early in the earlier days I was treating ladies who are in the 30s, right? But over time, they started hitting 40, they started hitting 50, and
Mm-hmm.
and we both agree. When I talk to these patients,
Yes.
we all agree that they look very good for 50.
Correct.
now,
Yeah.
now 50 people who are 50 years old nowadays, right? Half a century do not look at all 50. Uh,
We
and
don't.
there's so many contributing factors, but I would like to think that my services help them as well. And
Yes.
they're very happy. They're very grateful. Yeah. So it's very
Correct.
rewarding when I see this kind of patients as I
Correct.
carry over the
I
years.
think, inversely, we also see a lot of younger women also opting for, as I said, a nip and tuck and, kind of touch up here and there, because I think even their concept of beauty is also changing, which could be, it could also be sheer peer pressure, and it could also be where, uh, you know, things like, for example, a girl wanting to kind of, to get married, or, or career, and, I think all those pressures also kind of step in, which also then brings me to this other question of mine, because I know that in India we are very vocal as women, very vocal, because I think there's a very heightened sense of, of opinion. So Indian women are also very opinionated, in terms of what they feel, what they see, what they want, in that sense. Which brings me to a very core issue on biases based on skin color, correct? Because I'm sure as a doctor, you also kind of, either in a professional practice, or your personal spaces, you are aware of it. We
Yeah.
also see brands very categorically and very specifically are now looking to be politically correct, because of the backlash, that has happened in terms of, white skin versus brown skin, and, everything else, which goes between that. So there is a very strong social consciousness about being seen doing the right thing, saying the right thing, which is all politically correct. Do you also kind of, in the industry, see biases based on skin color?
Yeah, no, I think this is an old question by now already. Again, I think in Malaysia, I'm fortunate because growing up, I saw people of all different kinds of skin color. It was never really an issue that I was aware of. Maybe because I'm a man and I didn't look at it the way other
Yes.
people look at it, right? In terms of beauty, to me, it wasn't an issue in how I perceive things, right? Whether dark skin is not so good, or fair skin is better, or something in between. Tan skin is better, or people like, skin of people who live in the cave is better.
Yes.
So
Correct.
I think that is not really a major issue. People have brought it up, there's perception. This has to do with perception. Maybe people are finding that, people with fairer skin are getting ahead certain things, or in certain countries, right? Or maybe it arises because they see certain things, how the media portrays it in magazines, in shows, in movies. And it could be a subliminal, it's like a background kind of message, that the fairer people, get what they want, they look better. So I think it's not really true, because the thing about being healthy, having healthy and good looks and attractiveness, right? Skin color is not a very big factor. One of the perception studies showed that if you want to look healthy, or you want to look younger than your age, right, and you want to look successful, right, it doesn't matter what shade of color you are. It matters if it's even colored. So if let's say you have you have white skin, but you have too much of freckles or too much of aging kind of spots, right, then it's perceived to be a little bit less attractive. But this is very general, because of course there are exceptions. There are exceptions.
Correct.
And
how does it all then correlate to, holistic wellness and holistic mental health?
No, I think exactly that. People who keep feeling that, they want to keep whitening their skin. They find all kinds of ways, right, and they're never happy. So I think that is being too self-critical, about their own self, and it's something that's very hard to change, right? Like the Michael Jackson kind of dilemma.
Because most of the beauty stars.
More interesting story. He was a black man with vitiligo, right?
Correct.
And his dermatologist prescribed him a medication, a drug, to kill away all the melanocytes, right? Melanin producing cells.
Yes.
So of course he changed to white. And I think that might have thrown him off a little bit in terms of the issue. And I think people do face this issue. But I think if people come to see me about something, I will actually always temper it down. I will try and bring them down to more realistic expectations, into moderation, into telling them also that, it doesn't mean that fairer skin is better. Some
exactly. Correct.
be tan looking, right? It looks, they feel it's a maybe healthier glow. Yeah.
Right.
So it's also a case of the grass being greener on the other side. Because if you go to countries, go to Scandinavian countries, they want to be tan, right? And everybody takes off all their clothes, including the women, right? And sun them in the garden when the sun comes out. Yeah.
Correct.
And they want to they think a tan is a healthy glow. And here in Asia, right, people want to be fairer. So the grass is always greener. So somehow probably it's best if we meet in the middle.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Because every time I step into a store, into a beauty store, 90% of their products will be all skin whitening products. It is just there in your face. So it is not only just subconscious, pressure. It is actually it just boom right, in your face. And I know that it also can and does influence a very impressionable generation of young women and men, who want to be seen, correct, as as fairer, whiter, because everybody else, all kinds of communication is saying that it will get them better boyfriends or better girlfriends, better job opportunities, because of the way that their skin looks, or the perception of being fair or being white, which
Yeah,
brings me.
and the
Which
funny
brings
thing, sorry to interrupt, Ethel. The funny
Yes.
thing is actually most of the creams and the hope in the jar things from the pharmacies and from the stores don't really even work. So it's it's very interesting.
Absolutely, yes,
Uh,
absolutely. Which
sometimes
brings me,
work.
to our core, yeah, because I understand, I understand safety, correct? I understand, the advertising communication, because I'm from the industry, so we all know what we say to sell, and sell everything, pipe dreams included. Which brings me to a very core topic, which all kind of and so rides on each other because they're all layers of the same onion. In terms of ensuring safety standards and beauty practices, Dr. Hew, because as you also kind of said, the industry is full of competitors. It is a me too, a wannabe. This shark is better than the other shark. That kind of atmosphere. How do we ensure safety in beauty practices?
Yeah, I think as time goes by, just like how regulations happen, right? Everywhere else, hopefully, right, the people in charge, the authorities, the medical councils, right, the health ministries, right, will come up with very sensible and logical guidelines of how to protect the public from kinds of people claiming what they're not supposed to be doing. I mean, example I can think of is right, if you were going to go in a flight, right? Yeah,
Yes,
from
yes,
from Laban back to here, for example, right? When you
correct,
when you go there, you have to have a well-trained pilot, right?
correct,
He's got
correct,
qualifications. He is a pilot, right, by profession.
correct. Yes,
He's done all his work. He's got certain time of flight hours, so you know that he is the one to fly the plane, not
right.
somebody else, right? But
Yes.
in the beauty industry at the moment, right, in many countries, Malaysia included, right, there is no clear cutting, and people are saying no. Certain times even the ministries or the political people who are making the decisions are saying, oh,
Hmm.
we let it go because it generates income, right? So I think it's a very wrong way of looking at it if it
Yes,
impacts on the health of people. We had a
correct.
case of a young model going for liposuction at the beauticians right earlier on this year, who died
Yes,
because it was the wrong person
yes,
doing it. It was not a pilot flying the plane. It was
yes,
always flight stewardess flying the plane, right?
correct.
So
I read
that's
that story. I read that story.
that is not the right thing to do. But some regulators, are not doing the right thing. But even away from the regulators, I find that because in this competitive world today, everybody
Hmm.
wants to make a quick buck, including I would say, unfortunately, so there are crooked people in every layer, right, including among doctors. Sometimes they
Yes,
want that they are not supposed to be doing,
correct.
and so
So,
so
so,
we have that as well. So ideally, even break without having politicians or
hmm.
council people or whatever regulating, and especially for a noble profession like medicine, there should
Yes.
be, we were arguing for that in the earlier days, right, for
Hmm.
self-regulation. But
Hmm.
it is clearly not so feasible in the real world because people being people, there are all kinds.
Correct. So, Dr. Hugh, what kind of guidelines would you propose that a potential patient or a client must follow when they are choosing their aesthetic doctor?
And in Malaysia, we actually have got quite a few guidelines already, because we have aesthetic medical practice committee in the ministry, of which I'm a member as well. I looked in because I was one of the early guys who came into this. And it was years ago, because we were suddenly told in around 2015 or 16, right, to stop doing what we were doing. Botox, and lasers, and all this beauty-related medical work, and only to let people like dermatologists and plastic surgeons do it, because that they are more qualified. But actually, in that sense, it wasn't true in that case, right? So we came and we said, we are a group of people. We are small. We are a group of doctors, but we are very well trained in what we are doing, right? And so we were a stakeholder, and then we've been doing and having very happy patients for a long time. It shouldn't be demarcated like that. So then the ministry had the foresight to actually form a committee, and that is still a very active and functioning committee to come up with guidelines and certain things. And when that death happened, right, the death at the beautician, due to liposuction, we actually blocked out messages to the public. So in Malaysia, there are a few levels to look at. And I think in most countries would have this kind of safeguards as well. First thing is to check that the doctor is qualified, right? And he has got a valid annual practicing certificate, right? And just if it has to be displayed, I think in most countries it will have to be the case.
Sure.
Second thing is to make sure the premises are registered as a medical delivery kind of medical care clinic, right? And then in Malaysia we have another one where we have what we call the letter of credentialing, LCP. Letter of credentialing and privileging to do aesthetics. In this letter, there are also all the listed procedures which they are allowed to do. This is because we've actually come up with a system where we've actually classified and sort of drawn boundaries what certain groups of doctors can do, even among the doctors. So in Malaysia, it is clear cut, as simple as that. Except that sometimes enforcement may be a little bit lacking. And you do get bad apples around, right? Which don't have all these points and still doing it. Like I say, to me, that would be the thing. If that can be regulated well, that can be enforced well, and people are sensible, and the public at large is more discerning.
Yes.
Not just get drawn in by cheap prices, or fantastic offers and promises. Then it will work out well for everyone.
Okay, wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is what you need to do when you choose the right professional help to kind of whenever you feel that you should go, why not, for a refresher. Which reminds me of it's a very famous movie with Goldie Hawn. I think it was called The First Wives Club. And hilarious, completely hilarious, because that's what she does, and she chooses wrong, and and then she kind of suddenly her friends say, "What happened to your mouth?" Anyway, so doctor, you have such a busy schedule, because you manage to
today.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and I think it's a 7-day-a-week schedule almost that happens in, and two very active clinics in Bangsar, one at Lorong, the bungalow, and the other one at BSc. How do you unwind, or what is your source or go to unwind?
Source to go to the unwind. Interesting question. Well, I think in Malaysia, right, people like food. So I've been exploring after hours, different kinds of food from different countries, right? Japanese food, right? Italian food, local cuisine that has been upgraded and improved upon. Asian food from different countries. Even Middle Eastern kind of food have started popping up in Malaysia. So food is a big thing for some time now. And of course, if you have food, you have drinks, right? Things like wines and cocktails and all that, I've always enjoyed. So that is one part which I almost actively do. But also it's just over the course, right, of doing the job and unwinding, right? And also because I've been traveling also, I think the past 10 years have been crazy, have been great to me. I've been I've actually attended conferences all over the place. I've been to Korea, like, I don't know how many times now, and
Yeah.
I would put the food there, and the drinks and the people and conversing with them. That is one big aspect. For me, there's also gardening now. I say
Correct.
it's very interesting. There's a lot of things that people don't see. What makes a successful garden, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Like you said, it's water, it's
And it's
care.
very, yeah, yeah, it's very rewarding when you just find the right buttons to push, and boom, you got a very good looking flower, or you got some fruits, like I've got tomatoes, I've got brinjals, and they look amazing because the colors, right, of these
Correct.
kind of vegetables and fruits, they're amazing in the garden. So my garden is a very big mix. There are flowers, there's vegetables, there are succulents, there's even like pitcher plants, exotic plants, all kinds. So I find that it's interesting, and I keep learning new things.
Correct.
Just like how I see different patients, right? They are just challenges being thrown at me,
Yes.
and I find that for me, that's very interesting, and much less complaining than patients. I mean, the plants don't complain at all.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, just joking.
Very interesting. So, Doctor, to sum up the such an exciting conversation and truly heart to heart, what do you think? What do you think men and women really want?
What men and women really want. I think when they come to see me, what they want is to look good. I think, like I said, just I mentioned much earlier, it's actually hard coded into the DNA, into the being of a woman, to have to want to look good and to always improve upon things. But for any kind of relationship or any kind of true thing to really last quite a long time, I think what people want is honesty. You need to have honesty in how you deal with people. You
Yes,
need very down to earth, and know what you can and cannot do. Be
correct.
humble enough to learn new things when you don't know how to do it, and then I think, right, you can approach all transactions and all interactions with people in a more honest kind of way. So I think for me actually, I think my patients actually come to see me because of honesty. Rather than anything else, I don't overpromise them, and they find out, and it shows over the years, right?
Yes.
You can't keep lying and lying and lying, and the person,
No, yeah, absolutely.
even when things have gone wrong. So what
Absolutely.
do people really want? I think nowadays, and as as always probably been the case, if you want something to last, right? What people need is probably honesty.
I think that holds true for relationships too. Everyone who's single, including myself, I think that's a core. We want honesty, from our relationships, from our men, from our women, and from our doctors. Great. So this has been such a lovely conversation with the two of us. I can see. I think there's Lena who's logged in. There's Elizabeth from Dubai who's logged in. There's Faisal, a very active, tour leader in Bangladesh who really wants to bring, people and high-end travelers from Bangladesh to Malaysia. I think even India, looks at Malaysia from the eyes of medical tourism as well, right? And India would be very happy to have somebody of your expertise and caliber to also, to also kind of be part of the beauty industry in India, because I think it's required. I think expertise is required, and expertise with honesty is always welcome. On that note, Doctor, I think this has been such a fantastic 1 hour of conversation.
Wow,
Uh,
it's 1 hour already.
1 hour, yes, 1 hour of heart to heart. I'm so glad that you made the time, on a Sunday, to kind of, contribute, into such lovely inputs that you've given me, and given everyone who has joined in the conversation today. Um, Let me, I know they're all kind of still stuck in lockdown, so a lot of people are also dealing with, mental health issues right now, because I was quite horrified to see, even statistics, of what is really happening in terms of, the mental state of mind of Malaysia right now. Uh, could you give them a tip or an advice, that could hold them in good stead?
Over this time, yeah, no, I think it's a difficult time for all of us, and being a business owner myself, right? I think many people, and some, of course, some people are employees as well. It's such a strange time. It's actually a very hard time, but it's a very strange, disorienting hard time because unlike when there was Spanish flu and when there were other, the things were not as people were not as affluent. They didn't have reserves. Now people have reserves, but reserves are running out, and some of them have already run out. So it's a very strange kind of a time, and people really can't make much sense out of it. On the one hand, we know that they have less, but on the other hand, they want to spend less or have less of a lifestyle. Correct. So I find it very hard to adjust. So I think it's kind of stressful. But what I would say is that we're all in this together. Yes. Everyone, even though we may not be in the same boat, yeah, but we are in the same kind of ocean, right? Yes. So the thing is to help out each other where we can. And in Malaysia, we've got this white flag kind of campaign, right?
I was going to say that.
White flag, they feel they're really in trouble because we saw a spate of suicides, right, before this, and people didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
I think that is not a wise thing to do. Coming from the living, and that's why when I'm doing my Instagram posts and all, I try to have a more positive kind of message. Have something colorful. Don't dwell on the dark side.
Yes.
Plant something. Grow something, and you see it nurturing, right? Then you maybe might have an idea of treasuring life rather than just taking it, or feeling that there is hopelessness in this world. And obviously it's not, because there's a lot of beauty in this world.
And also gratitude, because we just initiated the Gratitude July initiative, as I call it, and a lot of people, have responded to it with gratitude videos. I think we forget that we can be grateful for so many small things in our life as of now. And on that note, Doctor, I'm grateful to you. You've been such a great support, and a great friend to me as well. Of my stay in Malaysia, which also kind of enriches.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on this chat show. And I think it was quite some interesting things we talked about today. Yes. Hoping to see you and engage in more discussions with you, talks and chats.
Yes, absolutely. It was just so required. It was so important. Thank you. Have a lovely evening, Dr. Hew, and to all my to all my friends who are here on Facebook. And the video will get shared very widely across my social media handles at Ethel Da Costa, including social media handles of the M.A.C.Clinic on Facebook and Instagram. So do check our handles, do follow, and let me wish each one of you a lovely evening, a peaceful, lovely evening, and be happy. Understand that we are all in this thing together. The lockdown is not going to be forever, but resilience, creates a great character. And on that note, let me conclude and end my heart to heart with big love to everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Hew.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. This has been such a lovely conversation. I've known Dr. Hew for quite some time, and I'm so happy that your feedback to everything that I'm doing on social media has been so encouraging, full of love, full of positivity. I get great messages from you on my WhatsApp, on my Instagram DM, on my Facebook Messenger. So I'm so thankful to each one of you, all across the world, wherever that you read me and you watch my work and you participate in my work. Thank you. As I said, I love you. I want you to love yourself, and I want you to understand that the universe takes care of us. Just open up your heart to its blessings and its love, and keep watching what I do and participate. That's how we support and grow and help each other. Thank you so much. Good night.